Nasa Hataoka Swing Analysis. What's up, guys? It's your favorite Kiwicoach. Let's go do this thing. Alright guys, so if you're new to Mike's OG Academy, we do everything that you need to know about golf instruction. We do golf course vlogs, golf tips, interviews, again, everything that you guys need to know about golf instruction, we do it here. So if you haven't already, please hit that little red subscribe button and let's get into this video. So Nasa Hataoka, 2017 LPGA Rookie of the Year, obviously a very talented golfer, and she's got a lot of good things going on in her golf swing, but in terms of the stats that we just researched, she is actually inconsistent for the level player that she is, and we're going to kind of talk about that. So let's hop into the down the line view. We're not going to really go over the backswing too much, but I do want to kind of go over some of the ideas that she's doing here on the downswing. Now, obviously, as we start moving this frame, we can see that the camera's moving ever so subtly, so I'm not going to be able to draw the original shaft line, and I'm not going to be able to draw the lines on the butt and the head to kind of reference the early extension. We're just going to have to go a little bit off of eye, and as well draw some dynamic arrows while we're doing this. So as we take her up to the top of the swing, I would say takeaway for my liking, club head gets behind the hands a little bit more than I would like. Now, typically you're going to see that with the longer clubs, the club head will get a little bit more behind the hands than with the shorter clubs. She's really not that far out of the box of being okay, so something I probably wouldn't really talk about. From here, though, I want you guys to kind of really notice what's going on with the trail side knee. We're going to see that this trail side knee starts staying in flexion, basically, which just means that it's staying bent all the way till she gets up to the top of the swing. Now, here's the thing. Typically, we see players who have flexion in the knees and they maintain it throughout the whole backswing. We're probably going to start seeing them jump a little bit early. As well, another thing is whenever we don't let the trail side knee extend, you're typically going to see a lot of players struggle to get hip depth, which just basically means they struggle to get a bigger turn with the hips, which for a lot of players out there, for the masses who aren't as mobile as these professional athletes, you're probably going to get a shorter swing, okay? So definitely something I would like to see a lot of you guys out there do. But in this case, Nasa obviously is very mobile, flexible, and able to kind of get a pretty big turn with that move not happening. So as she gets up to the top of the swing, she's in a fairly good position. Axis of the shoulders might be a little flat for my liking. She might be a little bit too deep with the hands for my liking as well. Again, the hips haven't turned that much and her hands are pretty much lead arm is on the shoulder line. Hips haven't turned that much. She's probably going to start having the hands fall behind her, and let's kind of see what I'm talking about here. So as we start her down in transition, we're going to see that at this, let's call this right around P5 position, her hands are they're pretty far behind her body at this point. And from here as well, we can also see that she's also kind of got into a little bit of this early extension move already, which just means that her butt has gone from, let's say her pelvis line is in anterior pelvic tilt by a certain degree at the top of the swing. It's starting to level out a little early for my liking. Typically that happens whenever you see hands fall behind. You typically see pelvis go from anterior pelvic tilt to subtly starting to go back into kind of posterior pelvic tilt, which would be tilting downwards of the pelvis that way. Now from this position too, we can start seeing that hands are falling a little bit more behind body. Club shaft is getting a little bit underneath the plane here, right? Typically we're going to see people on plane a little bit more on the forearm here, but obviously hers is a little bit below it. From here as well, we can also see this pelvic line. If we draw or kind of zoom in here, we can see that she's almost gone into posterior pelvic tilt here. Her pelvis is fairly neutral at this position, which is not what you're going to see the best ball strikers do, like the Hogans, the Sneeds. I mean, everyone would be considered a premier top-level ball striker. You're not going to see the pelvis line level at this P6 position. You're still going to see him in anterior pelvic tilt, and you're going to see him in left pelvic tilt, which Nasa is not. Now, at the same time, let's kind of take a notice of where this club face is pointing. If we take an arrow and we draw one, we can see her club face is pointing way off here to the right. I mean, typically you're going to see professional golfers with the toe line a little bit more this way. But if we take a look at hers is obviously a little bit more in a fashion this way. So you're going to see most professional golfers at this point either somewhere from here to here. Now, the main reason why I think her club face is so wide open is just because she's so much underneath the plane. It makes sense if you're swinging way out to the right, you don't want to get your club face pointing way off to the left because then you're going to hit that low snap hook, right? let's say she's having about a +5 path, +6 path right now. You want to have a face roughly around +3. That way it starts 3 degrees right at target and kind of draws back. So it makes sense to me in a coach's mind. The reason why her club face is so open is because she's stuck and she's swinging so far to the right. Cool. So anyways, that's some important things to look at P6. Next thing I want you guys to kind of note, this next click that we look at, let's just kind of see what she's done from this position to this position really quick. We'll do it a couple more times. So as you can see, she's extended, right? So the knees have gone into extension. We can start seeing the chest is going a little bit into extension. Pelvis line, we can definitely see that it almost is in posterior pelvic tilt, kind of like the last view, even more so. From this position as well, we can see that the troll side elbow was starting to extend, right? She's losing flexion, or she's losing this angle right here a little bit too early in the troll side elbow. And all things considering, her club head is coming way in from the inside at this point, and she's stuck and way underneath the plate at this point. So let's kind of stop here and pause and just take a second to kind of think about this. Nasa Hataoka, 2017 LPGA Tour Rookie of the Year. Very good golfer, but she's stalled out, and she's showing a lot of signs of a player that is really going to struggle with ball striking. Now, if we take a look at her stats, we can kind of go through them and we can see driving accuracy, she's really not that good. Not even in the top 20, not even in the top 30 or 40 or 50. She's actually, I think, 85th in 2017. Now, let's take greens and regulation. Same type of thing. I think she was not even in the top 50, 60. So, for her being Rookie of the Year and being very high up there on the points list, her ball striking is really not up to par compared to the rest of her game's talent level. So, obviously, her short game and putting is keeping her in the game, but I would heavily bet on that her ball striking is holding her back from taking it maybe to the next level to being one of the top premier echelon players on the LPGA Tour. And I think a lot of the reason why she can't become that good is just because the positions she's putting herself in on the downswing and the backswing are making it very, very hard for her to be consistent, because she's relying a lot on a flip and roll last second type of release. Okay, so that was kind of the side note. That was kind of the macro idea around this analysis, to be honest. And I see it with so many LPGA Tour players. I see it with a lot of Japanese professional golfers as well, who are still being taught to kind of slide, get the left pelvic higher early, right side knee into internal rotation early, all that stuff we talked about that we don't want to do, they kind of do, right? So anyways, from this position, we can see that she extends a little bit more. She's got this, basically we can see the pelvis line is pretty much neutral here, if anything in posterior pelvic tilt. From here, because her knees have extended, she's going to get a lot of right side lateral bend to try to stay in this quote-unquote spine angle that a lot of professional golfers try to talk about, you know, how they always say they want to stay in their spine angle. Technically, I mean, if you really go off the real definition of staying in your spine angle, no one actually does. Even if it looks like you do, you really don't. Her adding on this right side lateral bend the way she's doing it with fully extended knees is a really bad way, I think, to kind of swing, and it puts a lot of strain on the lumbar spine. We won't go too much into specifics, but definitely not the right thing, or thing I would like to see. From here, she's not rotating. Look how her head still hasn't released, right? She's still looking this way, and then she starts to release and start rotating about here. Cool. So let's quickly go into the face-on view. I think you guys got the meat of the analysis on that last view, and you can kind of get a really good grasp of what she's doing. But let's go into the face-on view too, and kind of look at a few things as well. So as we take her back, there's a couple things that are a little bit of an oddity compared to most players. Her median of the cap is released a lot more than you see a lot of tour players. My best bet that the reason why she's doing that is because it helps her turn her mid-spine a little bit more. I think the main reason why her head turns that much too as well is because her knee has not come out of flexion, which is a great way that you see a lot of players turn their hips. So maybe she's trying to cheat it with the median of her cap turning. Anyways, that's kind of a side point that's not too important to you guys, but just something to kind of think about. Okay, from here, what we're going to really look for is we're going to look at the left pelvis, and I'm going to show you a really cool checkpoint to see if you guys are stalled out yourselves. So we're going to come down into the golf ball. We're going to see this lead side knee is starting to go a little bit into external rotation, which I like. This one's going into internal rotation, not dramatically, but a little bit too much for my liking. As we get to this P5 position, her knees are in a decent spot. Pelvis and everything is okay, but it's not quite the way I would like to see it. From here, we can start seeing that extension move we talked about earlier. If we zoom in here and take a look, we can see her club face again, like we saw in the other view, is pointing way out to the right. And then as she comes into the golf ball, the club face is going from a position where it's pointing this way, then 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 it's pointing this way. So it's a high rate of closure is what we like to call it. Anyways, coming into the golf ball, and this is the checkpoint I want you guys to draw whenever you guys are looking at your own golf swing. So if you draw a line from the left pelvis all the way down, notice how hers is on the middle of her foot. That is a good reference point to see if you're stalled out. If she wasn't stalled out, this left pelvis line, instead of it being in the middle of the foot, would be somewhere right around here. So her pelvis would be here. Her pelvis is here, right? And the reason why her pelvis is here is because she's had too much linear motion that way, and she's also not used the legs correctly, and she has not moved the mid-spine and everything correctly to that point. So in review, guys, just like we're saying later or in the middle of this review or this analysis, I think the main reason why Nasa Hataoka has not taken it to the next level in terms of being one of the top echelon LPGA Tour stars is because her ball striking is very, very much lacking. I think she could improve incredibly, and I hope that she will get in contact with me, the Kiwi coach, and come take some lessons so we can teach her how to rotate efficiently and actually swing the golf club the way that she could and actually fully optimize her talent. All right, guys, hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you haven't already, feel free to smash that like button. Leave me a comment. Let me know if you guys like these types of videos. Let me know if my rants are even making any sense. I would love to know. And as always, guys, if you haven't already, feel free to hit that little red subscribe button. All right, guys, best of luck and play some good golf.
So many nights I've been trying to forget. Do they hurt you like they hurt me? And all I've been